First contact confusion. The gleaming hull of Space Station Unity loomed large in the viewport as Ambassador Zix's diplomatic shuttle approached. Representing the Galactic Concord, Zix had been selected for this mission due to their renowned diplomatic skills and calm demeanor, qualities that would be tested in the coming hours. Humans were the newest species to join interstellar society, and rumors about them spread faster than light across the galaxy. Some spoke of their ingenuity and adaptability with reverence. Others whispered about their violence and unpredictability with fear. But one detail persisted in every account. Humans and their weapons were inseparable. Zix's four-fingered hand unconsciously stroked the soft blue scales along their neck, a self-soothing gesture from childhood. The shuttle docked with barely a shudder, and the airlock cycled open with a hydraulic hiss. Ambassador Zix, welcome to Space Station Unity. The voice belonged to a human female dressed in a crisp blue uniform adorned with colorful patches and metallic pins. Her skin was a rich brown, and her black hair was pulled back tightly against her scalp. But what immediately captured Zix's attention was the sleek black object holstered at her hip. I am Captain Elena Martinez, Station Commander and your liaison during your stay with us. Zix extended all four arms in the traditional greeting of their species. Captain Martinez, I am honored by your welcome. The Galactic Concord sends its regards. Martinez smiled and extended her hand. After a moment of awkward adjustment, humans had only two arms, something Zix still found oddly limiting. They managed a cross-species handshake. Please follow me. We've prepared quarters for you and scheduled a tour of our facilities. As they walked through the station's corridors, Zix couldn't help but notice armed personnel at nearly every junction. Some carried small devices similar to the one at Martinez's hip, while others held larger implements that could only be weapons. The ambassador's inner eyelids flicked nervously. Captain, may I ask a personal question? Of course, Ambassador. Why are there so many armed individuals aboard a civilian station? Is there some danger I should be aware of? Martinez looked momentarily confused before understanding dawned on her face. Ah, I see the misunderstanding. Most of these people aren't security forces. They're just ordinary citizens and station personnel. Ordinary citizens, carrying weapons. Zix couldn't keep the shock from their voice. It's part of our culture, Ambassador. Humans have a long history with personal armaments. Martinez gestured around them. What you're seeing is actually quite normal for us. They passed through a large communal area where humans of various ages gathered. Zix noticed with growing discomfort that many civilians also carried weapons, some openly displayed, others partially concealed under clothing. Even your non-military personnel arm themselves. Many do, yes. It's a personal choice and a constitutional right dating back to Earth's early democratic experiments. Martinez led them toward another section of the station. Perhaps seeing more of our daily life will help you understand. They entered a large chamber with transparent barriers separating a walkway from what appeared to be some kind of practice range. Zix froze in horror. Several young humans, clearly children, were aiming and firing weapons at targets under adult supervision. These are offspring, Zix whispered, all four hands instinctively clutching at their ceremonial robes. Martinez nodded. Weekly safety and marksmanship classes. Most start around age 12, though some families begin education earlier. You teach your young to kill. The captain's expression turned serious. We teach them to protect themselves and others. There's a difference, Ambassador. They continued walking, the sounds of controlled gunfire fading behind them. Martinez led them to a quieter observation deck overlooking Earth, a blue-green jewel suspended in the void. I understand your discomfort, she said finally. Many non-human species find our relationship with weapons disturbing. In the Concord, only designated security forces carry weapons, Zix explained. The idea of arming citizens, especially young ones, is unthinkable. Different evolutionary paths lead to different cultural norms. Martinez gestured for them to sit at a small table. Humans evolved as relatively weak omnivores on a planet full of predators. We lacked natural weapons, no claws, no venomous bite, no overwhelming strength. But you survived. We did more than survive. We thrived. And we did it by creating tools to compensate for our biological limitations. The first human weapons weren't for fighting each other, Ambassador. They were for hunting food and defending against predators. Zix considered this. But surely once you developed civilization, such tools became obsolete. Martinez shook her head. Unfortunately, we found that while some threats disappeared, others emerged. Human history is filled with conflicts. Tribes against tribes, nations against nations. Your species fought among themselves, extensively, and when we weren't fighting each other, we faced natural disasters, pandemics, and environmental challenges. Humans who could defend themselves and their community survived. Those who couldn't, didn't. Zix's secondary heart fluttered with discomfort. So this obsession with weapons is a historical artifact. It's more than that. It's woven into our identity as a species. Martins leaned forward. Consider this. When we first ventured into space, we discovered we weren't alone. And not all our first contacts were peaceful. The Krivan incursions, Zix murmured, recalling the violent reptilian species that had attacked several emerging spacefaring civilizations. Exactly. We faced an enemy with natural armor, venomous bites, and a hive-mind tactical advantage. Do you know what saved humanity? Your weapons technology. Not just the technology. Our mindset. Every human colony, every ship, had citizens ready and willing to fight. The Krivan expected to face a professional military force. Instead, they encountered a species where almost every adult was a potential combatant. A sudden blaring alarm cut through their conversation. Red lights pulsed along the corridor walls, and the station's artificial gravity subtly shifted. Martinez was on her feet instantly, hand moving to the weapon at her hip. Her posture transformed before Zix's eyes, from diplomatic liaison to warrior in seconds. Station alert. All personnel to defense stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The captain's communication device chimed, and she listened intently before turning to Zix with grim determination. Ambassador, I apologize, but we have a situation. Pirates have breached outer station security. I need to get you to a safe location immediately. As they hurried through suddenly chaotic corridors, Zix watched in amazement as civilians and military personnel alike moved with practiced precision. Even more shocking was the sight of ordinary citizens pulling weapons from holsters, bags, and hidden compartments, transforming a peaceful space station into an armed camp within moments. All those weapons, Zix whispered. You were prepared for this. We're always prepared, Ambassador, Martins replied, her voice hard as steel. That's why we're still here. Understanding through fire. The station shuddered as another impact struck somewhere distant. Captain Martinez guided Ambassador Zix through maintenance tunnels, away from the main corridors where fighting had broken out. Pirate faction, Martins explained curtly as they moved. Likely after the experimental technology in Lab Section 7. They hit our external sensors with targeted EMP bursts before boarding. Zix struggled to keep pace, all four limbs working overtime to match the human's efficient stride. How did they penetrate your defenses? Inside help, possibly. We'll figure that out later, if we survive. They emerged into a residential section where civilians were organizing into small groups. To Zix's astonishment, an elderly human was distributing weapons from what appeared to be a hidden wall compartment. These are not security personnel, Zix observed, watching as ordinary-looking humans checked weapons with practiced hands. Station militia, Martinez explained. Every adult resident trains regularly for scenarios like this. A young human approached Martins, offering a salute. Captain, residential sectors Beta through Delta are secured. We've established fallback positions and medical trade points as per protocol. Good work, Shen. Ambassador Zix is under my protection. We need to reach command. The main lifts are compromised, Chen replied. Pirates have control of Deck 4. Jefferson's team is engaging them now. Jefferson, the station botanist, Zix asked incredulously. Former Marine, Martins corrected, like many of our civilian specialists. Another explosion rocked the station, closer this time. The lights flickered momentarily before emergency systems engage. They're moving toward the central hub, Martins said, checking her communication device. We need a different route. As they navigated through increasingly damaged sections of the station, Zix witnessed scenes that challenged everything they had believed about human society. A kitchen worker used cooking implements alongside a makeshift weapon to defend wounded civilians. Two elderly humans operated an improvised barricade, coordinating younger defenders with tactical precision. Children, the same ones Zix had seen at the shooting range, were calmly helping move supplies and assist the injured. I don't understand, Zix said as they paused at an intersection. These people aren't soldiers. Not professionally, no. But every human understands something fundamental about our existence. Martinez checked around a corner before gesturing them forward. The universe doesn't care if we live or die. Only we do. A group of armed figures suddenly appeared at the far end of the corridor, their non-human physiologies and patchwork armor marking them as the pirate intruders. Martins pushed Zix behind a structural support just as energy weapons discharged, scorching the wall where they had stood. Stay down, Martinez ordered, drawing her sidearm. What followed was a display of skill that left Zix speechless. The captain moved with fluid efficiency, firing with precision while communicating positions to unseen allies through her device. Each shot found its target despite the chaos, and her movements suggested years of practice beyond formal training. From adjacent corridors, station residents emerged with coordinated timing, flanking the pirate group. The invaders found themselves caught in crossfire from civilians who fought with the discipline of veteran warriors. Within minutes, the skirmish ended. The pirates lay dead or incapacitated, while the defenders had suffered only minor injuries. Central Security reports pirates in retreat, someone called out. They're abandoning their boarding craft. Martinez nodded grimly, helping Zix back to their feet. They weren't expecting this level of resistance. Pirates typically target stations with dedicated security forces they can outmaneuver, not populations where everyone is a potential combatant. As emergency teams moved in to secure the area, Zix studied the humans with new perspective. Your people fought together seamlessly, military and civilian alike. It's who we are, Ambassador. Each human understands that their survival may one day depend on their ability to defend themselves and others. Hours later, with the station secured and repair efforts underway, Martins and Zix sat in a quiet medical bay. The captain sported a bandaged arm, refusing priority treatment in favor of more seriously wounded personnel. You asked earlier why we arm our children, Martins said, wincing slightly as she adjusted her position. Today, you saw the answer. Those children were able to help because they understood what was happening. They weren't paralyzed by fear because they've been prepared. But at what cost? Zix asked. Doesn't this militarization affect your development as a peaceful species? Martinez smiled sadly. We don't want to fight, Ambassador. Most humans live their entire lives without firing a weapon outside of practice. But we believe that being unprepared for violence doesn't prevent it. It only ensures you'll be its victim. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a patchwork of old scars. Before I joined Space Command, I was a colonist on Terran Outpost 7. We were a scientific expedition. Academics, researchers, families. When the Kriven found us, we had limited military presence. What happened? Out of 2,000 colonists, 300 survived. We held out for 9 days before reinforcements arrived. Her eyes grew distant. I watched brilliant scientists who had never considered violence fight with improvised weapons to protect their children. I saw researchers use laboratory equipment as explosive devices, Everyone fought, because the alternative was extinction. And this experience is why you maintain your armed culture. This is one of thousands of similar stories throughout human history, Ambassador. From our earliest tribal conflicts to interstellar war, humans have learned one consistent lesson: the prepared survive. Martinez leaned forward, her expression earnest. We don't glorify violence. We respect weapons as tools that carry enormous responsibility. That's why we train extensively, why we have strict safety protocols, why we teach ethics alongside marksmanship. Zix was silent for a long moment, processing everything they had witnessed. I came here believing humans were dangerously obsessed with weapons. I now see it differently. How so? It's not the weapons themselves you value. It's the security they represent, the agency they provide. Zix's four hands made a gesture of contemplation. You arm yourselves not because you love weapons, but because you love life. Martinez nodded slowly. That's surprisingly accurate. 2 weeks later, Ambassador Zix Forla stood before the Galactic Concord Assembly, delivering their report on human culture. Distinguished representatives, I recommend full acceptance of human membership in our Concord, with one notable exception to our standard treaties. Murmurs spread through the assembly as Zix continued. Humans should be exempted from the Concord's personal armament restrictions. Their relationship with defensive technologies is not merely cultural, it is fundamental to their identity and survival as a species. The chamber erupted in debate, but Zix remained firm in their position. The humans had demonstrated something remarkable. A species could be simultaneously prepared for violence yet dedicated to peace, ready for war precisely because they understood its terrible cost. As the assembly argued, Zix remembered Captain Martinez's parting words. We hope for the best, Ambassador, but we prepare for the worst. That's how humanity has survived for thousands of years, and how will continue for thousands more. Looking at the assembled representatives of 100 peaceful worlds, Zix wondered if the Concord might have something important to learn from humanity after all.